Save the day for the 34th annual Polo Classic. The preeminent polo event in the Twin Cities is back Sunday, August 4th at the Twin City Polo Club. You can find out more at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Back with you, 11:04 on a Tuesday morning. It's 9 to noon. Dave Sinykin in for PA. I've been told that indeed PA is out tomorrow, and young Alec Lewis will be in this chair. So we're kind of balancing things off here at 9 to noon. You know, a little more green and gold flavor today, although not that much. We just last segment kind of dove in a little bit to the love situation.
Yeah, I'd say it's more of a general NFL quarterback question than it was a Packers talker.
Well, that too. And then we talked about heartbreak, and as you had predicted, the text lines blew up. You can't talk heartbreak if you're not from Minnesota.
We're not allowed to have, we've never had heartbreak. No. We've never had a bad loss. It's always been sunshine, hugs, and juice boxes. Everywhere else but Minnesota.
Hugs and juice boxes. I like that. Yeah. I threw out, I don't know why, everything that's negative in this town sucks. In light of the fact that the Twins are I'm not knocking on wood, but this is,
Yeah, it's something. Yeah.
The three offensive stars are all healthy right now, and not so coincidentally, the Twins have won 5 straight. The offense is humming. But what if you knew that one's going to go down, but the other two will be healthy the rest of the year? Is there an obvious pick? Like, who would you sacrifice to know that you got the other two? And, begrudgingly, it's not a fun exercise. I don't know why I submit myself to not fun exercises, but I went with Buxton. Just Lewis and Correa, just to me, can bring so much to the table. And 6'5" guy agrees. Missing one of the three, it's Buxton, and it's not close. You can trade for a Michael Taylor type where the defense is similar, and Buxton simply does not take good at bats. Correa and Royce both take quality at bats and can both hit for average. Buxton refuses to use his speed to his advantage at the plate. You can't trade for a player comparable to Correa or Royce. I don't have anyone else picking one of the other two yet.
The one person you can eliminate is Correa. He's 100%, you keep him. All of his metrics are absolutely off the charts. If you go on Baseball Savant, all of his meters are bright red, which is a great thing, which means he's, one of the top players in the league. You can't. Buxton, his batting, even since last year, has just not been the same. He has value other places. His fielding is really good. His base running is really good when he's healthy, but his bat still hasn't really caught up to what it was a couple years ago. And Royce, you still really don't know what he is this season because he hasn't been there for very long. He's been injured most of the time. So to me, it's probably Buxton, but it can't be Correa. That's the one for sure. It's not Correa.
I agree, and I think most Twins fans would say it can't be Royce. He's played half a season. He has 24 home runs in half a season. And how many grand slams? Remember that stretch with the grand slams?
It's like one a day.
I mean, he's just learning pitchers and learning what it means to be a major league player. The sky is the limit. And that hope, when you've got a player you don't know what he is, you don't want to lose that or give that up. Buxton, I think we kind of know what he is, and it's great on a lot of levels. Chasing down fly balls, diving, sliding, stealing, stretching a single into a double or taking an extra base. He's got speed that you just don't find. But the promise of Lewis makes it so enticing that let's just see what a 350 at-bat season or whatever he'll get to if he stays healthy looks like for Royce Lewis.
I mean, think about this for Buxton. His metrics this year, one of the worst in the league at getting walks, one of the worst in the league at striking out, one of the worst in the league at whiff percentage, chase percentage, one of the worst in the league. I mean, the bat just hasn't caught up yet to what we expect from him.
Yeah, it feels like when you're watching Buxton at the plate and he has 2 strikes on him, you just assume it's a strikeout. I do. I just figure, all right, 2 strikes. Although I think that 2-run single he delivered to give the Twins a 2-0 lead a few days ago, I think that wasn't a 2-strike. I think he had 2 strikes at that point. Yeah. His memory serves. Off the subject, email came in from Mike in New Richmond. Dave, I'd like to go back a couple days. It was great to hear your Barcelona and Paella class story on Sunday. He says, I spent 3 months in Toledo, Spain, studying during my junior year at the U in the late 80s. Highly recommend studying abroad. And Barcelona was by far my favorite city in Spain. I just can't find really great, authentic paella in the Twin Cities. Any recommendations from listeners would be much appreciated. I don't know of a great paella place, so yeah, we'll throw it out to the listeners. Text us 64686 so Mike in New Richmond can head across the border and find a good paella dish. I'd like to say that come to my house, but I haven't tested my new paella kit yet. Might be sort of a thing I have to practice a couple times, but if I do master it, Mike, I will. I'll invite you over. Good paella in the Twin Cities, 64686 to help Mike out. That would be much appreciated. ESPN.com. It's, the 6-week window till training camp opens. Got to come up with talkers. Got to come up with content. This morning they published ESPN.com off-season grades in the NFL from A to D. And so I'm interested right away. All right, so how do they rank the 4 NFC North teams? And I'm assuming the Pac's at the bottom because, they didn't do their number one pick was a lineman. They made one splash by adding Xavier McKinney at safety, so that's what I figured. They give the Bears the top grade at B+, recognizing that they may have found their franchise quarterback, but that's the big question. Will Caleb Williams be the guy people believe he can be? And that's what the whole Bear season's about. They have great upside if Caleb steps right in. A defense that was top 5 after they got Montez Sweat, weapons around. They've set Williams up by trading for Keenan Allen and drafting Rome Odunze, DJ. We know the whole bit, DeAndre Swift, but it's all about Caleb Williams, and they're buyers, and they like what the Bears did. Certainly having 2 top 10 picks is likely to give you a good grade in your offseason. Bears have the highest at B+. Packers come in second at B-. Surprised me. Again, I expected them to be at the bottom. I wouldn't have a complaint with it. They didn't do anything too sexy. They replaced Aaron Jones with Josh Jacobs. Jury's out on that. Like I said, they brought in Xavier McKinney, and I do love the 2 defensive guys they added in the second round in particular, and a new defensive coordinator who I think is going to be a big step up from Joe Barry. Pack gets a B-. Lions get a C. They like the idea of the secondary being remade and the cornerbacks they added, but they don't like the money they paid Jared Goff and how they believe, the writers believe, it will hamstring the Lions a few years from now when Goff's money becomes really big and he's older. So the window for the Lions in their mind is these next 2-3 years. But in 2027 and beyond, it might get dicey to build around the Lions. And speaking of which, when we were talking about receivers who've gotten paid like JJ, we forgot Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was the other $30 million receiver as we were speculating what CeeDee Lamb might be looking to get. They give the Vikes a C-. I was surprised to see it. The worst grade in the NFC North. The only teams below them were Dallas with a D+ and the Raiders and Saints with Ds. So what caused it? For what reason are they saying that the Vikes get the worst offseason grade? It basically revolves around the amount of capital they gave up to get Dallas Turner. Ultimately, the way they figure it, it's basically 2 mid-round first-round picks for Dallas Turner. If you take the deal with Jacksonville where it was 23, a 5th-rounder, a 3 and 4 next year, and the other trade that was figured in, the only other 2 trades in the last 20 years that were more expensive in draft capital were the Falcons trade to get Julio Jones and what the Texans did by giving up a top 5 pick to draft 2 players last year and add Will Anderson along with C.J. Stroud. They also ripped the Shaq Griffin signing because it means they will lose what would have been a 3rd-round compensatory pick for Danielle Hunter's leaving by adding Shaq Griffin. That will take that away. So obviously you're sort of, predicting that Shaq Griffin versus a 3rd-round pick next year in the long road scheme of things, not ideal. I mean, Shaq Griffin could become the top corner on this team, and then no one's worried about giving up a compensatory 3, but I can kind of see the logic. What if Griffin's a 1-year fix? Teams don't typically let good corners get away. The Chiefs just did, trading Ladarius Sneed to the Titans. But a C- for the purple, which I was surprised. But obviously it's one opinion. It doesn't mean much. It's just off-season fodder, and I found it interesting. What I didn't find interesting was getting a homework assignment. Look, I get it. There's a lot of very capable guys that can sit in this seat 9 to noon, and I feel honored to still be on the roster, still be among those chosen to fill in for PA when he and Nordo are both out of action. But to be given a homework assignment, like, all right, do this. You can have 9 to noon, but do this. Pick your brain. Come up with 5 positive, nice things to say about the purple. They didn't say do it with a smile on your face, but that was kind of implied. So I had the candle burning on both ends. I stayed up way later than I should. I racked through every search engine you can think of. Google, Bing, Yahoo. I went deep trying to come up with 5. But I think I did it. I will, as I said, probably take a shower following the show, but I'll be a good soldier. A good iHeart KFAN soldier. I'm not wearing purple and gold glasses. I don't have pom-poms in my hands. I'm not blowing a horn. But when we come back, 5 nice things that I think about the purple on the Fan.
Fan.
Am I supposed to sing along? There's no words to this version. It's just the instrumental. Am I being encouraged to actually?
The Corner's office was hoping that you would sing along.
Oh, there we go. So I should have known that you have to let that play first.
Honor your name. Go get that first down. Let's get a touchdown.
Do we have? Am I allowed to talk over this?
We're going to anyways.
Do we have team song envy? We don't have a song like this. Really?
Roll Out the Barrel isn't very good.
That's a Brewers. That's a Brewers song.
Yeah.
To me. All right, we're playing it because I've been tasked really, with coming up with 5 nice things to say about the purple. For people like 909 guy, where's 909?
909 guy.
Oh, it's California. It actually says
wow.
Les K in Upauka, California. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Who texted in, is there any real Vikings who can sub for PA? Turning y'all off. That's why we're doing a segment like this. For guys like Les who need purple pats on the back, purple love, 24/7. What are you going to ask pick a player? Brian O'Neill to sit in for PA on a Tuesday? I don't think so. All right, but as I said, I've been asked to come up with 5 nice things to say about the purple. What I should have done is the common bit. Okay, I'll do 5, but I really do 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Maybe I could have gotten away with just 3, and I would have been just fine. But no, I went with the bit. Does this song go on forever, or did you replay it?
Oh, I was just going to
keep it going? That's fine.
Thought about it.
We can keep it going.
Some production value.
It works. All right, 5 nice things to say about the purple. Number 1. Thank you. I'll let that breathe every time I give you a number so you can do that. All right, number 1. I'm going to go with the new Winter Warrior uniforms. I kind of like them. Now, my main reason for liking them is the severe lack of purple. And maybe that's already taking a shot at the Vikings with number 1. But, I don't love the color purple. If you want to hate me for multiple reasons, I'm not a huge Prince guy. He's fine. I know. I'm on an island. He's fine. I respect the talent. And as I've said, I've got close friends who have been very closely associated with Prince. But he's just not my favorite artist. He's fine. But I don't have the love and adoration. I'm not one of us, blah, blah, blah. Although my dad's a St. Paul kid, so I have some blood in me. First of all, I hate the name. You can't be called a Winter Warrior if you play the game indoors.
Nice things. Nice things.
Oh, was it nice things?
Nice things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the new Winter Warrior uniforms.
Okay.
Those are sharp.
They do look nice.
I'll leave it at that. Number 2. I attended my first Viking game last season at US Bank Stadium. I hadn't been to one.
Oh.
I'd been to the stadium for concerts. Well, concert. I saw U2 there. And I said I'd never go back because the sound was just awful. And my kids all graduated high school at US Bank Stadium. And I saw Minnetonka play in the Prep Bowl or whatever they call the high school football, whatever, championship. But it was my first Vikings game. My buddy took me. He had season tickets. And it was the best game of the year to go to. It was the 49ers game on Monday Night Football, where no JJ, no, sorry, he's Jets now. Can't call him Jets. No Jets. But the Vikings took care of the 49ers, and it was a really good experience. And what I really liked about it and was impressed by was really something that had nothing to do with football. I really liked the pre-kickoff presentation. I liked the music, the sound effects, the presentation on the field, even the fake snow that comes down. I know, again, having no roof would be better, but you have a roof, so you manufacture snow. But I was like, wow, this is sweet. I think the NBA does a great job with the video and they turn the lights out and all that. That's great. But I was, again, the Packers do nothing like that before the game. Zero. This was cool. I would almost say goosebumps, but no, I'm not going to go that far. But I was really impressed with the pre-kickoff presentation at US Bank Stadium. That's two. So I guess my first two things
notes
have nothing to do with football necessarily as far as the team goes. But five's a lot. I mean, ask me to come up with 5 nice things about the Packers. It might take me a little time. I don't necessarily mean that, but you know what I'm saying? 5 is a big number. I think 3 would have been a much fairer assignment.
Well, 5 sounds like more than 4.
It definitely does, and it is, in fact. All right. The number 3 nice thing I have to say about the Purple. I mean, you got my favorite Packer on your team, all right? I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to root against Aaron Jones. I want him to succeed on all levels. If Aaron Jones has a better season than Josh Jacobs, I'm not going to be mad. I would have liked the Packers to have paid him the $12 million they're paying Josh Jacobs. I would have been fine with it. I understand the move to go younger, and I think Josh Jacobs has a chance to be great with the Pack, and we'll see how it all plays out. But Aaron Jones will go down. He'll be in the Packer Ring of Honor. He's one of the great running backs in Packer history, and he's a great human being off the field for things he's done for the community. Just the man he is, from everything I have seen, read, reported, he is a great dude. And it began with the way he was brought up, down in El Paso, with, military family, learned how to be a man and a gentleman and treats people right. And I wish nothing but success for Aaron Jones. I'm not going to grab a 33 Winter Warrior jersey, per se, but if my son Jackson wants one, I'll be happy to help him out. So that's number 3. I'm a big Aaron Jones fan. I hope he succeeds wildly with the Purple. One of my all-time favorite NFL players. All right. The 4th nice thing. Definitely want to put the word nice in quotes. I kind of stretched on this one. I am cheering heavily for 2 guys you probably couldn't name on the Vikings. Offensive lineman Dan Feeney and cornerback Jalen Williams. I'm pulling for those 2 guys to make the team. I think Jalen Williams played 1 game, had a couple tackles, maybe 1 tackle. Dan Feeney's been around the league a little bit. Do you have any idea why I picked those 2 guys? There's no way you're going to get this.
Well, I think I have a solid guess, but I think I got tipped off earlier.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Did I tip? Oh, I tipped you off. I did tip you off. That's right. Those 2 gentlemen matriculated at Indiana University, my alma mater. Yeah. So I'm predisposed to root for any Hoosiers that actually makes it in the NFL. I didn't do my homework because this would have taken probably a half an hour I didn't have. Do any other NFL teams have 2 former Hoosiers on their roster? I'm guessing no. You could probably count on one hand, maybe 2, how many Hoosier alums are playing NFL football in 2024. The Vikes have 2 of them. So I'm cheering for those 2 guys as a proud Hoosier alum, as a proud dad with 2 kids at IU. Dan Feeney, Jalen Williams. Make the team, make your mark, and become longtime Vikings. That's my hope for you two gentlemen. That's number 4. And my number 5, nice thing to say about the purple. I'm finishing strong here. I've made this point a number of times recently. We don't know what the Vikes are going to do this year, right? 7.5 wins over under. You could make an argument either way. Probably all about Darnold and whether he can manufacture wins, and mostly navigating the first 7 games where they'll be favored in week 1. They're a 1-point favorite against the Giants, but they're going to be underdogs the next 6 weeks. The schedule starts out really hard. And if you don't get buried early, if you find a couple upsets there, things can go well. But one reason I do think the Vikings have a chance to be very much in the mix is I'm a big believer in the 3 edge/linebackers the Kwesi and company brought in this offseason. In Jonathan Greenard, in Van Ginkel, and in Cashman. I think they have massively upgraded, or at least, I mean, he didn't upgrade from Danielle Hunter necessarily massively, but I think Greenard has a chance to be really good. And I think those 2 guys give the middle of Brian Flores' defense a lot more talent than he had to work with last year. And I think that they're both, all 3 of those guys are going to have big impacts on this defense. There's still questions up front. There's still questions at corner. But those 3 guys, I think, were really good signings. And I expect Brian Flores to do a lot with those 3 guys. I did not mention Robert Tonyan, former Packer, who's a tight end for the Vikes. I wish good things for him as well, but I was only given 5. I couldn't go. I mean, I would be happy to go to 6, but I only went with 5. I've been nominated for a PST. This one I've earned, for sure.
Okay.
When I said I couldn't come up with 5 nice things to say about the Pack, that's a layup. I mean, that's almost me begging Tenna to give me a nomination. And I'd take it gladly. I didn't say it with that in mind. It just kind of came to my head. Yes, of course, I could probably come up with 5, but I think deep breath. I feel okay. I got through this.
I don't feel too bad about it.
Came up with 5 solid reasons that there are nice things to say about the purple. I'm hoping it's the last time I'm asked to do this, at least for a number of years. But I think I answered the call. We'll come back. Final segment. Thank you. We needed to come back with this.
The song's catchy. I'll give it that. It gets stuck in my head from time to time.
Yeah, it's fine.
Almost sarcastically, but yes.
Come back for our final segment. Some more NFL stuff, some more Wolves stuff, number of texts I want to respond to. We'll do that in the final segment as we put a wrap on 9 to noon on the Fan. I'm not saying the S word. Bye.
Skol Vikings, let's win this game. Skol Vikings, honor your name.
Fan.
Rev up your engines and race to Treasure Island for Monster Truck Thunder. This action-packed event will be a smashing spectacular with daring stunts and next-level excitement for the whole family. Don't miss the island's first ever Monster Truck Rally, Saturday, June 29th. Tickets on sale now. You can get yours today. KFAN.com keyword calendar.
We're back. Final segment, 9 to noon on a Tuesday. Sinykin in for a PA. Alec Lewis. Viking fans, rejoice. 2 ends of the spectrum. Me today. Vikings scribe Alec Lewis in this chair tomorrow. I wonder if the Gucci's are asking Alec to come up with 5 nice things to say about the green and gold.
That'd be nice.
I'm
Be
guessing.
A little payback.
Guessing not.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to. It's all good. I threw out earlier, we had texter Mike in New Richmond asking for the best paella, if there is paella to be found in the Twin Cities. I had mentioned that I took a paella cooking class in Barcelona, family trip over the spring break. Son Jackson was studying there. And yes, I too would recommend if, you can make it financially, there's obviously expenses involved, but if you can have your student travel abroad somewhere, it was an amazing experience for my son. And he loved every second of it. Now, having 20 of his buddies along and his girlfriend probably didn't hurt being overseas. But, my kids went through Spanish immersion through grade school, elementary school. So he was able to speak the language and almost feel at home in a way. But, I would recommend that. It was a great experience for him. Several texters have come in with places to find paella for Mike in New Richmond. FEMA's. 952 guy says FEMA's has killer paella. Guavas in South Minneapolis. From 612 guy who also recommends Victor's 1959, which is a place that I used to frequent a ton when my wife and I lived in South Minneapolis in her house, and we would have breakfast there a ton. I don't think I ever ate dinner there, but I did check their menu during the break, and the paella looks killer. So I love that place. That is so old school, divey, but the food's amazing. So I'm thinking I may have to go back to Victor's and try their paella. But thanks for those selections. Speaking of my wife, who I know is listening early because she and some girlfriends were driving up for a couple hours to a friend's house today to hang out for the day. So I think I'm safe to now tell the story from last night because I don't think she's listening anymore. And it's nothing bad, but it's just I don't think I've laughed harder than I laughed last night. And a great belly laugh out of nowhere is just the greatest thing in the world. When it's not like a show you're watching, it's funny, that's a laugh. But when something happens in your life and you just can't stop laughing, and we both did, and it revolves around the New York Times word games. I love word games, and I always thought, my go-to date, like when I started dating someone, and I was single till I was 40, so I went on a lot of dates, a lot of first dates, second dates. And I always like to have coffee and play a game of Scrabble. Go to a coffee shop that's got games sitting around, you pick up a game of Scrabble, and I wanted to see if I could find someone that, I'm a words guy. My family played Scrabble. It was a thing. I did not find a woman that did share my propensity for words. Patty's that's not her thing. She has lots of amazing talents, but words and word games are not among them. But she tries. So I love the New York Times word games. Wordle, Spelling Bee, connections and strands are fun, and the crossword puzzle, and they have the mini crossword, which is just a little, usually 4x4 or 4x5, quick. It's like, how fast can you solve it? Like, how many seconds will it take? And not to toot my own horn, not to pat my own back, but, I'm usually around under a minute. I try to, sometimes it might be a minute and a half, but I try to get it in 35, 40 seconds, and that tends to happen. And for my wife, it's drudge work. She doesn't see it. And so we've gotten to a point now where, as a subscriber, I can go archive and just find, usually there's one a day that open, like at 8 o'clock at night for the next day. But you got the archives, you can do as many as you want. So last night, she was in the mood to just do a few. And watching her try to answer these, where, for me, a lot of times, it was just so freaking obvious that she couldn't figure it out, which got me giggling. Like, seriously, you do not know this? But the one that put it over the top was, the clue was, in quotes, Atlanta and Nashville, both in quotes, are two examples. And that's not one you just obviously know the answer to. Probably. It's like, all right, I'll go around that one. So you start getting that wasn't a cross one, you start getting the down ones. And now it's 6 letters, blank, blank, SHOW. So blank, blank show. She still didn't have it. And maybe you wouldn't at that point, but to me, I'm like, really? At this point? So then she gets that the first letter is a T. She knows it's T something show. And she still doesn't have it. And now I'm giggling. So now she's going through all the available letters, trying to put them into her, TU to show, TW to a show, and she gets to V, and she goes to show, and she just moves on. I go, seriously, and we are both. She's responding to my laughter. I couldn't control it. I could not. One of those giggle fests. You don't see TV show there, that doesn't come to you. So it was just one of those moments where we all have strengths, challenges, and for my wife Patty, it's the mini crossword. But she fights hard, and if she gets it under 2 minutes, she feels like a rock star, and that's great. But that was that was a fun moment last night, and if you haven't played it, if you like those kind of things, it's a lot of fun. There are so many texts here. It's amazing how active the Bradshaw and Bryant text line can be on days like this when I'm sitting here, especially 9 to noon. Like, I don't get this kind of angst in other day parts when I'm filling in.
There's a certain expectation there in this time slot.
I understand that.
Yes.
And that's why I think I'm fairly low on the list at this point. I mean, it's rare that both PA and Nordo are out these days. You know, it's just not something that's going to happen very often. But I get it. I understand. I'm kind of an acquired taste. Texter Eric wants to remind us that we should give a shout out to the DGPT, which is the Disc Golf Pro Tour, which is in town this weekend for the 24 Preserve Championship. Most of the best disc golfers in the world will be here. Have you ever played disc golf, Brett Blakemore?
There was a phase in high school where we did quite a bit, and it was fun. But, it's gone with the sands of time, me playing frolf, disc golf, whatever you call it. So, yeah, it's kind of fun.
My kids loved it. At summer camp, It was a big thing at camp. And they went to camp in, surprising, Wisconsin for a number of years. And they fell in love with disc golf. And there's a lot of great places to play around here. A lot of parks have courses set up.
A lot cheaper than real golf.
This is true.
Yes.
This is true, both from a playing standpoint and the materials. Although a disc golf set is not the cheapest thing in the world because you have to have 4 or 5 different size discs.
You have a putter and you have your normal one. If
really?
You want to. Yeah.
So I kind of got scammed?
You can get by.
I think I got scammed because I think we bought like a set, like 4 or 5 of those suckers for those kids to play. So that's good to know. Still, it's unanimous in my Twins exercise. If you have to lose one of the 3 big offensive stars, who would it be? Everyone's saying Buxton. We don't want that on Buxton.
No.
We want Byron to stay healthy. But if you can't have all 3, he's probably the one. Another texter asked if I've ever seen the career stats comparing Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones. We actually did this. What was it? Was it Sunday or Friday? I don't recall.
We were definitely together.
It was with. It was Friday because I know Trent was with us, so it must have been Saturday.
It could be Saturday.
It's true. It's really weird. I saw the graphic. They're almost identical for the first 50 games of their careers. Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones, which, I mean, literally almost to the yard, to the passer rating, touchdowns, picks, everything. Yet they are both looked at so differently. You know, Daniel Jones is on his last legs and granted he's coming off an injury, but got paid the $40 million, and everybody in New York wishes they hadn't done the deal. Yet Trevor Lawrence gets $55 million a year, and no one's saying, why would you give him that kind of money? I find that interesting. It's kind of like Sean Payton and Mike McCarthy's 2 careers are very parallel. And I feel like Payton is seen in a much more positive light than Mike McCarthy. They both won a Super Bowl, but I think most people would much rather have Sean Payton, yet their careers are very similar. We speculated earlier when Dan Minnesota tweeted that back in '54, the NBA experimented with a 12-foot basket for a game between the Lakers of Minneapolis and the Hawks of Milwaukee. And could anybody today dunk on a 12-foot basket? Wemby is the one guy I'm getting from texters for sure, right? Wemby's dunking 12 feet. And somebody else, 6'5" guy, in the 2009 dunk contest, Dwight Howard dunked on a 12-foot hoop. So physically it can be done, but be obviously tougher during a game than in a dunk contest. I don't remember them doing that in 2009, a dunk contest, 12-foot deal. I don't remember that at all. But the list is short, I'm guessing, when it comes to guys that can dunk. I wonder if Ant could dunk from 12 feet, and would we want him to try?
Yeah, don't hurt yourself.
You're right. There's no real benefit to it. It's just a curiosity thing more than anything. NBA Finals ended last night. The fan has learned the season is over. Celtics are your champs. The NHL may follow suit tonight. Mr. Blakemore believes it will happen. The, I guess, biggest NBA news of the day is that Jeff Van Gundy, who was an advisor for the Celtics this year, has taken a job as Tyronn Lue's lead assistant with the LA Clippers. And probably now one step away from being an NBA head coach once again. And I know Double T and I have speculated, since he got dumped by ABC ESPN, that should be a name that teams would want. I mean, he was a very successful coach. Took the Knicks to the finals. Good years in Houston. I miss him on TV. That product is not the same. And now they're going to lose J.J. Redick, because I assume that will be, now that the season's over and he's done with his ABC, ESPN, and NBA final duties, I think J.J. Redick will be the next coach of the Lakers, and now they'll have to figure out what to do with their number one broadcast team. I thought Van Gundy was great. I thought that was a big mistake, and I give him credit for jumping back in, and he coached Tyronn Lue for a year, I think in Houston, if memory serves. But he will be a nice addition to that team's staff, and likely a year or two away from being a head coach once again. So that news broke today. Lynx were winners last night, 4th in a row, 7 of 8. They played around with the Wings for about 3 quarters. In fact, trailed late in the third quarter before going on a 21-6 run. And as we noted, made 22 more free throws than the Wings. 23-1 was the free throw discrepancy. Biggest crowd of the season for the Lynx, and the Wings were without their best player. Ogumbawale, the number 2 scorer in the league, missed that game. Lynx back in action tomorrow. They've won 7 of 8. They're 11-3, and in the most recent ESPN power rankings, they're number 3. By the way, ESPN.com today also posted their way too early NBA power rankings for next season, which is kind of like the day after the draft. They'll put a mock draft up. It's so stupid, right? Free agency. I mean, the rosters are going to change, but again, it's content. Season ends, so what does next year look like? Where do you think they have, what kind of respect do you think they have for the Wolves? The Wolves were let me put it this way. The Wolves were a top 4 team this year. They made it to the Final Four, in quotes, of the NBA. Do you think they have the Wolves as a top 4 team as of right now heading into next season?
I'm going to take a shot that, believe it or not, I did not see this article.
Good.
I'm going to go with 6, just outside the top 4, but I bet they'll have someone like a Denver or above them, maybe someone else from the East that's above them too. I'm going to go 6.
Yeah, that would have been my guess, 5 or 6.
Okay.
They actually have the Wolves 4.
Oh.
Number 4. They have Boston at number 1. Boston will be the clear favorite heading into next season. Everyone's back. Their whole core is back. And Al Horford says he's not retiring. So Boston will be the preeminent favorite to repeat. Where is my list here? I know who... Why did I not write this down? I was sure I wrote this down. Dallas, I believe, was 2. Denver was 3. And your Timberwolves were 4. And I guess I was just a little surprised OKC and maybe the Knicks were not thought of, because I think they were 5 and 6, and the Bucks were 7.
So I've looked it up. So Boston,
Denver's 2.
Dallas, your Timberwolves, then OKC at 5, Knicks at 6, and your Bucks at 7.
Right. So I think that's very fair. Despite the fact that we knocked off Denver, I understand why they would rank Denver higher. Again, this is completely meaningless. It's June, and we have free agency and a draft and all that stuff to go, and rosters are going to look a little different. But we have a pretty good idea that all 7 of those teams pretty much have their core in place. And if we go into next season at number 4 in the rankings, I think that's probably fair. What I'm interested now is to see the schedule come out and see what kind of love we get. I mean, Christmas Day has to be, right? First Christmas Day game for your Wolves. They'll probably have us on the road somewhere, but let's just play on Christmas Day. We've earned that. And we've earned more network love for this squad, which will, next week, add a couple players via the draft. And the next week, it's free agency. And we'll see how Connolly and company tweak the roster. Thank you for not closing with the Skol music. I appreciate that. You could have done that.
I could. Well, the Corners office wanted me to, but
yeah,
I couldn't take any more of it.
I'm sure they did. This has been a blast. Appreciate the opportunity to sit in again for PA on this day. Alec Lewis in this seat tomorrow, 9 to noon. Please stay tuned for that. And coming up next, it's the Common Man program with 10 to B and the Common Man noon to 3. And then Dan Barrero and JG 3 to 6:30 on the Fan. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everybody, and a great week. Try to stay dry. See if the Twins can get a game in tonight. And we will talk to you Saturday morning in the Zone at 8 o'clock with Double T.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.